Cyndaquil Community Day is coming up here in just over a week. It's a Pokemon that was recently buffed in the moveset update, and it's something that, while it hasn't made too many waves yet in the Open Great League meta, it could be very interesting. It has access to Incinerate, Blast Burn, and Thunder Punch, so a very offensive and very quick moveset now. It's an interesting pick too because its coverage helps it against the water types, and it just has so much raw damage with Incinerate and Blast Burn that I could see it having a lot of potential here in the Great League meta. Let's take a look at what bonuses we have going on with the Cyndaquil Community Day, because they're also pretty good as well. Obviously, you can evolve your Cyndaquils during the time frame to get Blast Burn, but you can also get a lot of Catch XP and Catch Stardust. So if you're trying to grind out levels, or maybe just get some extra Stardust to power up Pokemon, this is going to be a great day to do that. So let's take a look at what Typhlosion can actually do in the Great League meta. So here we have Shadow Typhlosion and regular Typhlosion. We'll compare them head to head here a little bit. I think they're both very interesting options. As I said, Thunder Punch coverage, very quick, very solid coverage for a fire type to have. And the stats on Typhlosion are actually kind of interesting. They're basically exactly the same as Charizard. If you know what Charizard is, it's very squishy. It basically always wins CMP against anything that you'd be seeing. 132 attack, that is very, very high. So Shadow Typhlosion, regular Typhlosion, which way is the way to go? Let's take a look at how they simulate head-to-head here. This is the Zero Shield matchup, and we can see that they have their strengths, they have their weaknesses. They both win 18, lose 23 here in the Zero Shield matchup, which isn't great, right? You lose more than you win, but it's a Zero Shield matchup for a squishy Pokemon, so getting 18 wins in the first place is probably pretty good. Shadow Typhlosion does end up picking up Lickitung, Mandibuzz, and Medicham, but it ends up dropping Sableye, Galarian Stunfisk, and Talonflame. Honestly, I'd gladly trade losing those three for just picking up Lickitung on its own. Picking up both of those is a great thing in Shadow Typhlosion's favor. How about the one-shields? What does it look like in the one-shield? Oh my goodness, this is super one-sided. Shadow Typhlosion picks up Annihilate with both Ice Punch and Night Slash, then Cresselia with Future Sight, it looks like, Dugong, Feraligatr, Sableye, Talonflame, and Umbreon, and you only drop Lickitung and Medicham. Dropping Lickitung is kind of rough. Lickitung is generally one of the most common neutral answers to things like a Typhlosion, so not being able to win that in the ones is a little bit sad, but you pick up so many matchups. Annihilate is so common. Dugong, Feraligatr, I mean, you beat water types here with your fire type, so it's kind of hard to say no to that. And how about the two-shield matchup? I think the two shields are going to be pretty similar. Oh, they're actually exactly the same. Yeah, because in the two shield, you're probably only going to get to 3 moves anyway. Your Incinerates are going to do a lot of damage, and you're going to reach the Thunder Punch, or maybe you can double bait and get the Blast Burn. A lot of those matchups would be pretty similar. It looks like basically everything's the same. Poliwrath's actually a lot better for the regular Typhlosion, probably because you actually get a Thunder Punch off. But aside from that, it looks like it's basically exactly the same here. So I'd say in what we've seen here, probably the Shadow Typhlosion does have a bit of a better matchup here, just against the Great League meta head-to-head. So what kind of stats should we be looking for here for Typhlosion? Obviously, we can't actually hunt the Shadow Typhlosion during this Community Day. It's just going to be regular Typhlosions in the wild. But we'll still take a look at both regular and Shadow, just in case you guys have some sitting around and you want to know, which one should I use. So we'll have a couple different spreads here. This is just the default IVs from PvPoke. Then we'll have the high rank, the high defense, and then the high attack Typhlosion. It actually reaches 140 attack, which is kind of crazy. So let's see what actually changes here with these different spreads. In the Zero Shield matchup, honestly, not a lot different, right? The high rank does pick up Future Sight Crest. The high defense picks up Future Sight Crest, but drops Dugong and Talonflame. And then the high attack somehow actually picks up Lickitung here in the Zero Shield, but it also drops Dugong and Talonflame. Interesting. Okay. I wonder why it's the way that it is here with Lickitung. Probably a breakpoint, right? Oh my goodness. So I should explain why there's so many breakpoints here. Breakpoints for 5-turn moves are exceedingly common. That's because they last so long, and they do so much damage, it's really easy for the move to do one more or one less damage, whereas like a 1-turn move that happens every half second, it's really hard for that to reach the next threshold. But here, because you have so much damage clumped into one move, it's really easy to get that 1 extra damage, which is why we see so many breakpoints here. And is there a Lickitung one? There is. Lickitung breakpoint is very likely the reason that Typhlosion is able to win the Zero Shield matchup if we have that breakpoint. Wow, okay. Well, I mean, overall, though, these matchups are pretty similar. I'd say the high rank is probably the way to go, just winning Future Sight Crest. That is something to, keep in mind. How about the one-shield matchup? And again, high rank just seems like it has it all. You beat Future Sight Crest in the ones as well, which it seems like it's the only one that does. And you beat Annihilate. That's actually really good. I think beating Annihilate, beating Cress, and there's no drawbacks to this, right? So I'd say just go with the high rank Typhlosion here if you're using the regular one. 2-shield matchup. We have, again, it's basically just a strict upgrade. You just win against Annihilate. That's pretty good. I'd say that this is pretty conclusive here. If you're going for a Typhlosion, just a regular Typhlosion, just go for high rank. Normally I'd say, maybe build a little bit of attack to win CMP in the mirror matchup, but the thing is, Typhlosion isn't all that common, and I don't expect it to be anytime soon, so just going high rank, like rank 1 Typhlosion, I'd say that's the way to go. So that's how the regular Typhlosion looks. How about the Shadow? We can take a look at that here too. I have the exact same spreads, the default spread on PvPoke, and then also high rank, high defense, and high attack. What ends up changing here in the Zero Shield matchup? It looks like the matchups are actually very similar here. Aside from the high attack, which just ends up losing 3 extra matchups, you lose to Annihilate, you lose to Lickitung, and you lose to Venusaur. That's embarrassing. That's a Grass-type trainer. Yeah, that's not ideal. I'd say that high attack Shadow isn't really looking that interesting here. This is obviously the Zero Shield matchup, so it's not going to look that great either way. You want shields in play when you're using a very glassy Pokemon like this. So getting into the 1-shield matchup here, oh wow, it's basically the exact same across the board. Shadow Poliwrath's actually a win for the high attack Typhlosion. You likely get some sort of Poliwrath breakpoint here. As I said, breakpoints are very common with the 5-turn moves. Let's see, Shadow Poliwrath. Yep, you do get a breakpoint, which makes sense. That's why you win that matchup. But it's probably not going to be that comfortable of a matchup either way. So I wouldn't put too much faith in that. And I'd assume in the 2-shield you just get countered down either way. But we can take a look at that, because these 1-shield matchups are pretty much the same across the board. And then the 2-shield matchup, we actually have something to talk about here. Alright. Am I seeing this right? Wait a second, you beat Spark Lantern with the high attack Typhlosion? How is that even possible? Like, what happens here? How does this happen? Oh, okay. There's gotta be some sort of Incinerate breakpoint, right? Yeah, you're doing 16 damage instead of 15. And if you double bait with Thunder Punch, then you actually reach the Blast Burn before the 3rd Surf. And the Blast Burn does 87 damage. It does more than enough to knock out this Lantern. Wow. Okay. That's not something that I was expecting to see today. Lantern with Spark, obviously a little bit less common nowadays, but I expect it to still be around a little bit. So knowing that you win that matchup, or that you can win that matchup, that's kind of ridiculous, actually. The high rank ends up dropping Sableye just straight up. Probably doesn't do quite as much damage. Let's see, yeah, you do 20 damage instead of 21. So I guess it just doesn't quite add up in the 2-shield. And then the high attack, we talked about Lantern, but you also beat Shadow Gligar, which I think this is misleading, because I think the other ones can beat this, right? Yeah, we can see here, the reason that you don't beat it with the high rank is for some reason it Blast Burns here. I'm not sure why. If we just get rid of Blast Burn, and we throw in good timing, you just always win against Gligar either way. So it doesn't really matter that, it says here that the high attack ends up winning against the Shadow Gligar, because every single one of these, they can win. Just go straight Thunder Punch, throw in good timing, and you're always going to win the Shadow Gligar matchup in the 2s. The high attack also ends up dropping Mandibuzz, Umbreon, and Wigglytuff. Dude, what? How do you lose to the Charmer? You're an Incinerate user. Okay, yeah, that's kind of embarrassing. You just get charmed down. They Icy Wind you. You don't farm them down. They do 9% of your health with a Charm. I know that Typhlosion's squishy, but that's kind of sad. So maybe another reason not to run high attack. So yeah, I'd say that the verdict's kind of in. Just go for the high rank Typhlosion with both Shadow and non-Shadow. You can have a little bit of attack if you are worried about the mirror matchup CMP, but either way, it's not going to be a common mirror matchup, and high rank is just so important picking up some of those matchups that you otherwise just kind of wouldn't. Annihilate Cresselia, both the non-Shadow and the Shadow. It seems like it's just like a straight-up improvement to have the high rank Typhlosion. Obviously, we can't hunt for Shadow Cyndaquil during the Community Day, but if you have any lying around, make sure to evolve it, because if you don't want to have to Elite Team Blast Burn, this is a great chance to do it. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and goodbye.